Hey everybody, I'm your host, Allie. I'm so happy you're here. I want you to know that this podcast was designed to self-affirm and redefine all things you. The phrase I am has the power to define every part of you. Let's jump into this week's episode to discover your I am. Hey everybody, it's Allie. I am so excited. We are officially starting Season 3, Episode 1 of the podcast. If you guys didn't listen to the trailer track that I posted about a couple days ago, definitely go listen to it. It's a little trailer on what you can expect coming into Season 3, all the new fun things we're going to talk about, a little bit about who I am, and what we're doing here in this community. So for all of you that don't know who I am, I'm Allie. I am your podcast host that will be here every week with you. I'm also the owner and CEO of I Am Lifestyle, the brand, and I'm so excited to be here. If you are somebody that's been here since Season 1, welcome back. I missed you. I'm so happy we're here. This is going to be such a fun new season. There's been an insane amount of growth just on my end, on the business's end. And I know a lot of you are probably like, Allie, where have you been? What has been going on? And so I am so excited to kind of catch back up with you guys and, reconnect and see what you guys have been up to, how we can live life together, and how we can share just everything going on in today's life. And before we jump in, I just kind of want to connect with what I've been doing, why we've had a little bit of a gap between Season 2 and 3. So for all of you that just met me, I am Allie. I'm the owner of this brand and host of the podcast. I recently moved actually into an entire new state, which is exciting, and I recently graduated as well from college. That was something that I hadn't done yet when we were in Season 2. So I did finish out school. I am now working full-time in marketing and I'm loving it. But I want to make sure that I still create this community that we have and that we've already started, because that's really where my passion lies, is with you guys and creating a safe space where we can just connect and talk about real things and talk about real feelings and also just create. I think it's a really cool thing when you can take a step back from what you're doing in your everyday life and really tap into things that you feel you've been called to or your purpose lies. So that's exactly what I Am Lifestyle is for me and the brand. And that's why I'm so excited to be hanging out with you guys. And something new and exciting too is if you want to see a visual of the podcast and not just hear the voice behind the episode, you can also tune into our YouTube channel that we are creating. I'm filming live stream these podcasts as well, so you can kind of get an idea of where I'm at, who I am, and not just the voice behind the brand. So hello to everybody on YouTube that's watching. If you can see now, you're actually a part of our new series called the Green Couch series. I'm sitting on this green velvet couch, chatting with you guys in my apartment, and it's so exciting. And for all of you that can see, I'm actually wearing I Am Lifestyle merch that you can buy on our website. This is part of our Optimist collection that we launched last fall, and on the back it says, I hope you smiled today. So you can definitely go online and shop this sweater and match with me. But anyways, let's jump into it. I am so excited. This episode, I thought we should start off with something very influential to me and a topic that I just absolutely love. And honestly, a big reason why I started I Am Lifestyle is just the power between the two words I am. So this episode, I wanted to start off with calling it, let's give it a name. Okay, so let's dive into what that means. When I write, let's give it a name, and I'm thinking, okay, why would I name that episode that? I want to talk about just redefining what names we call ourselves, redefining what names we call the seasons of our life that we're in currently, and honestly bringing life into what we're going through. I think when we give something a name, it gives it power. I think when we really talk about, I've been feeling this way, I can't name it though. I can't pinpoint why I feel this way, or if I'm feeling, fear, or if that fear is actually just me feeling really anxious, or if that's the same thing, give it a name. I'm super passionate about the power behind giving something a name. And let's dive kind of into this. Why is it important to kind of recognize what we're going through or name out something? So the reason why I think this brings a lot of power is because, and I can relate to this heavily in my life, is sometimes we just are going so fast, and we're going through a lot of new changes. And I know for me specifically, like I'm 22, I'm going through an insane amount of changes just from even finishing school out to now being like an adult living on your own, but you're a really young adult and you have no idea what you're doing, but people expect you to know what you're doing, right? And you're just kind of like, I have no idea what's next for me in my life. I barely have an idea of what I'm even doing now. I'm hoping that is okay, and I'm hoping I can get by with what I'm doing now, but how would I even have the mental space to think about what my future holds if I can't even name what I'm doing right now in the present? Okay, so let's pause there. That whole sentence that I just said has a ton of relatable content in that. I've spoken to a lot of my friends that are just in this season of being in your 20s, right? And I'm in my very early season of being in my 20s, but even as you get into like going into your 30s, I personally feel like so many people want to know, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who are you with? Why aren't you with anybody? What job are you doing? Why aren't you employed right now? Why are you still in school? Why are you not going to school? Why did you graduate early? What are you going to do now that you're not in school? It's all these questions, right? And that can be really overwhelming. And I know sometimes for me, I'm like, why can't I just be? Why can't I just do what I'm doing and be accepted in that? And then, for me, I really took a step back and I'm like, but what am I doing? Who am I? Like, what do I want to be known as? This is the power of giving where you're at in your life and what you're doing a name, okay? So for me in my life, I can confidently say I'm in a season right now of transition. I'm in a season right now of grace. I'm in a season of excitement. I'm in a season of new things, new beginnings. I'm in a season of creating, right? I'm creating now my own life. I'm creating what it seems like to be just Allie. I'm no longer Allie that's a college student, that's also living at home, that's also, dealing with a full-time job, that's in school. I'm now just Allie moving into a new job that just moved into a new place, in a new area. I'm redefining what friendships mean to me. I'm growing and creating a new community. I am redefining what's important to me and my needs, because my needs look a lot different now than they were when I was in school, right? So when we give a name to these things, for me at least, it gives me a lot of peace of mind. It gives me a lot of understanding of where I'm at in my life, right? So for example, let's play this scenario in our head. We're driving in a car and you're going over all your thoughts of, okay, I'm driving to work right now. I'm listening to this song. It made me just think of this person. Oh, that makes me also think about this person. I'm sad that I don't have that relationship in my life anymore. Or, oh my gosh, by the way, did I text that person back? I have this thing due at work. Is that person going to come, or am I going to be left high and dry? Also, what am I cooking for dinner tonight? What am I doing this weekend? Am I going to see my parents? Did I buy that birthday gift? Am I planning a Valentine's Day party? Also, by the way, this song's awesome. Right? And we go through literally in 3 seconds all of these different thoughts in our head, right? What if we just stopped for a second and was like, hey, Allie, calm down. You're okay. Take it one thing at a time. You're not called to be all of these different things, right? And when I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, why am I thinking all these thoughts at the same time? I can stop and be like, Allie, you're in a fast-paced season right now. Allie, you're in a season of life that's quick on your feet. Allie, you're in a season right now that expects you to have a lot of answers that you might not know, right? That gives me so much peace. Instead of me being like, why am I like this again? Why am I always exhausted? Why am I always having these thoughts? It's, all right, Allie, we've been here before, right? It's okay. You're in a season right now that's a little different than where you were before. And hey, that's okay if that's scary to you. That's okay if that's overwhelming. It's okay if you come home every day and you're just like, I can't seem to get it right. I don't know if anyone else on the other side of this microphone can relate to that, but I personally feel like that's been a lot in my life right now where, you hit one milestone that's awesome and you celebrate that joy, but that milestone kind of connects with another reminder of like where you need to be. And it's this constant feeling of I'm behind. And that takes away from the joy of these milestones that we're living through right now, right? And so for me, I've had to remind myself, Allie, name where you're at and slow down. Understand that you're not in a season right now that's going to be slow. You're in a fast season of life right now, right? So take what you can. If you don't want to be in a fast season anymore, name that. name that new season of something of connection, or slow to speak, or being a little bit more present, being a little bit more intentional, right? I think sometimes in life we can be really strong leaders, and I think sometimes in life we can be really strong followers. I think there's always a time to speak, and there's always a time to kind of be still and quiet and listen, right? I don't also think that that happens at the same time. And that's why I go back to talking about just how important it is to recognize where you are in your life and giving it that name. I think one thing I want to back up on and talk about, and I was kind of writing in my notes about this, is what names are we also going to not only call the seasons that we are in our life, but who we are while we're in that season, right? So, for example, we talked about maybe you're in this really fast-paced season and you're really unsure of like what's going on, and you're getting hit on all different sides of different things that need to be done, different things that you need to be, different hats that you need to wear, right? So how are you going to allow that season to also name you? Because I think a lot of times, personally for me, I can be like, wow, I'm really overwhelmed right now. But never once is that going to sway to how I feel about myself. I'm still going to know that I'm confident. I'm still going to know that I'm powerful and that I'm courageous and that I'm bold. But I'm also like sweet, and I can be really caring, and I can be very gentle, right? I'm not going to let this overwhelming circumstance of I have no idea what I'm doing right now and I'm really scared in that ever make me feel like I'm a person filled with fear. I'm never going to allow that insecurity to come into my life. I think our circumstances can be one thing, but I think how we recognize ourselves in those circumstances is where the true power is. That's why it's important to really understand who you are as a person and never let that be rocked, right? I think also sometimes in different seasons, especially as a business owner, you get into these lulls where you're like, I'm not really creative right now, or I'm not really doing anything with my business, or I'm in a huge season of transition right now. That doesn't mean though you as a person are not creative or inspired. It just means that right now maybe you took a mental pause, which is more than okay. I think of this too as different seasons of life when life just gets tough. And we as people go through maybe seasons of grieving, or maybe seasons of just, I need to stop everything and pause for a second and really like regroup who I am and who I want to be and who I want to be known as. I think there's a lot of grace in taking a step back and figuring out, okay, who do I want to be and who do I want to be known as, right? And who do I want to be known as to myself, I think is most important. And so I kind of want to talk about this too, of specifically for those who are in that season of grieving that might have like lost a loved one, or even just like broken up in a relationship, and that sucks, and you're like figuring out what it's like to live life without that person again, right? I think there's a lot of power in knowing that, hey, I'm going to let my body heal. I'm going to let my mind and my soul regroup and have a little bit of quietness. But that doesn't ever mean that my power is stripped. That doesn't mean that I'm I can't obtain my dreams that I want. I don't think a pause means that something's done. I also don't think because I'm grieving a death that now something in my life has died. I really feel passionate about this because I think so many times we feel what we feel, which is powerful. I mean, that's a cool thing of human beings, but then we define ourselves in that. Oh, I'm in a depressed state, so I'm depressed. I'm really dealing with anxiety, so I'm an anxious person. I'm really, really worried about my future, so I'm in a fearful state. No, we are not called to be fear-filled people. We are not called to have anxiety over our lives. We are never called to be labeled as depressed, right? Those might be things that we're dealing with, and that's life. Life gets tough, and we, take on these things sometimes that just really seem unbearable. Never once are you defined by that. And I want to make that very clear. I think that's when people get in lulls and they are defined by their circumstance, and that never is what you have been called to in your life. For me personally, being in a season where I'm like, gosh, I just literally moved into a new place, started a new job, moved away from my family, graduated school, am expected to know all this stuff that I have no idea what I'm doing. And I am really intimidated by that. I'm intimidated by the season that I'm moving into, right? That's an okay statement to say. Like, snaps to that. That is vulnerable and that is relatable. And friends, I want to stress to you that when we speak that into other people's lives, it'll create a connection with you and other people. That's why sharing our stories are powerful, because everything I just said is true, right? It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel intimidated, but it's never okay to live in that state. We recognize it, we speak it out, and then we move on. That's the power of speaking its name, is we don't live in that state. We just call it out for what it is and we keep moving. That is truly where you will blossom into a new season of, you know what? I'm the first to admit I'm a hot mess express sometimes. I'm the first to admit that, gosh, that created a lot of fear in me. I'm the first to admit that, you know what? I'm so passionate about where I'm at in my season right now of life. But I don't know if this is something that's going to carry on forever. I don't know what my future holds. I don't know if this is something that I can sustain and keep going with. Or, sometimes, let's face it, we get really bogged down with comparison and we get our feelings hurt and we're like, that person's out there kicking ass and they're doing amazing. And why am I not doing that yet? Why am I not living like the dreams that I have really envisioned for myself, right? Those are all fair things, but we're not going to sit on the couch, think about it, cry about it, and then just sit in that and not do anything. No, we are going to be transparent in how we feel and honest always, but we are going to start to rephrase how we view those things in our lives, right? So let me give you an example. What's a good one? Let's talk about business, for example. Okay. For me personally, I created I Am Lifestyle. I rebranded after owning a clothing brand that I owned in college. And I owned that for 3 years, right? And I felt this calling to rebrand into something that could connect to a bigger community that would really sustain like what I'm passionate about, which is people, and creating that motivation and in people and telling them that, hey, you are so worthy and capable of anything you want to do in your life, right? So if I'm that one cheerleader in someone's life, my life is fulfilled, okay? So I rebranded into that. Creating a lifestyle brand from where I was in my life in college and doing just clothing was a really scary thing. I published my book and which is also, by the way, I have, if you're watching YouTube, you can see right here, but you can buy my book on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com or even on our website. Plug right there. A little episode plug. But anyways, in my book, I was so scared to share my story, but I genuinely felt this calling from God that I was like, hey, if I'm going to tell people that your story is powerful, why am I not sharing mine, right? And that can get scary sometimes because you're like, I want to share all the cool things about my story, but I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. No, you've got to share it all and you've got to be honest in that. And then that creates such a vulnerability around other people that it allows them to feel like, okay, this is a safe space. I can share too, right? So going back to that, I was terrified in that. But I knew that those feelings of fear were also intermixed with feelings of confidence and almost like a reassurance of this is what you're supposed to do, right? I don't think we live our lives in something that is always exciting or something that is always great, or we use this phrase in society as we're always thriving. No one is always thriving, right? But what creates this idea of people thriving is them being able to live life with like their fears, anxieties, disappointments, heartbreaks, hurts, and being able to own it, right? And then being able to say, hey, like I've lived through those things, or I'm currently living through that right now, or I'm currently having those feelings, but never once am I going to let that actually define who I am. Because on the flip side of that, I'm still a girl that made a business. I'm still a girl that published my book. And even if no one read it, it meant something to me, right? And I'm still that girl that has that fear of sharing her story. But every time I share my story, I feel that confidence in just who I am and reiterating what I've lived through, right? And even if that doesn't help anybody else but yourself, you matter. And that matters. And so I want to share that because I think so many times in life, we think, I'm scared to do this, so I'm not going to do it. Or I really want to do this, but there's no way that I could ever do that. I don't come from somebody that has a family that supports them or has money to sustain something that they would quit their full-time job and do a small business, or somebody that could constantly stay passionate. But I think those are lies we speak over ourselves, because I know a lie that was spoken over me before I published my book was that my story was never impactful enough to share. And that was a big motivation to me of why I wrote my book. Because to me, I was like, you know what? My story is impactful because it's literally just the transparency of someone saying, hey, I'm living life out here. Does anyone else want to live life with me too? That's a powerful statement. So many people are scared to like literally lift out and reach their arm out to help someone else. People are scared to even just hold hands with people in life. People are scared to say me too. People are scared to agree. I think sometimes people are really scared too to just live life with people that are going through things different than what they're going through. I think that's where real power lies, is where we can sit in a group and we can understand that every person's story is different, but we can thank them for being bold enough to share it. Ooh, I just felt so many snaps on that one, because that is where the true power lies, friends. And that's why I'm so passionate, especially about this brand and just like this new season, and what we're doing in this podcast is sharing life and living life together, right? And that goes back to sharing what I am you're in. And that's why on the brand, we always hashtag what's your I am. It's always changing. You're never defined as one thing. And that's why you need to make sure, well, then what am I defined as? What's something in my life that I'm going through? I think there's a lot of truth in also saying sometimes, hey, I have no idea how I would define myself right now. I have no idea where I am in my life. I am barely keeping my head above water. But friend, you're swimming still. And you were bold enough to say that. And I think so many people can relate to your season as well, right? So I think with that, let's kind of go through a couple bullet points to take away from this episode of, we need to redefine not only what we call ourselves, but we call our seasons in life. We can't let our circumstances really bog down actually who we are as people. We might be in a really hard season right now in our life, but that doesn't mean we're going to give up. That doesn't mean we're taken down into that depressive state and we are depressed. No. We are going to raise our self-esteem up. We are going to talk encouraging words over ourselves. We're going to recognize who we are in that state, of course. And people deal with, people can deal with depression. People can deal with anxiety. I'm not saying that that's not a thing that we go through. It is. But what I want to share is your story is so much powerful than you being in that depressed state, or you dealing with those anxious feelings. Friends, we were called to be bold. We were called to be courageous. We were called to be loved. We were called to live in community. And I want to say, like, if someone has never told you that, I want to make sure that I'm telling you that, right? That you're supposed to be surrounded by people that support you and love you. You're supposed to feel like good about yourself all the time, even if we're not always sure about what we're doing or where we're at. I know for me, if I mess up, or I'm a little nervous about where I'm at, I can at least have my own back and say, okay, Allie, well, you know what? You have a good head on your shoulders, you have good discernment, and you know who you are as a person. So let's rock, right? Let's rock and roll. Let's go for it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to be exactly where I'm at right now. And you know what? That's not a bad place, because I love where I'm at. And it doesn't mean I love everything that I'm doing. But even if I'm not doing something that I love, it doesn't control who I am as a person or how I feel. I think a lot of times too, bouncing off of this, is we allow even our circumstances, like our jobs, to define who we are as people, right? How many times do people say, I hate my job, I'm really unhappy with where I'm at? Okay, why do you hate your job? What is it that you don't like? Do you not like the community you've built around it? Do you not like the people you work with? Do you not like the task you're actually doing? Do you not like the environment you're in? Do you hate your commute to the job? Do you hate the pay that you're making? Do you hate your hours? Like all of it, right? Why don't we start redefining though who we are in that job? Why don't we start redefining that, how we can be a coworker to somebody, how we can grow that community with somebody, how we can redefine actually how we're doing that task, how we can actually have money not be the object, but how we feel in our purpose and what we're doing. Money is just literally a symbol of how people view your talent or view your purpose or view your energy in a business place, right? You're paid a lot of times based off of how you perform. That's why we get raises when we're doing good, right? So your energy is really what is going to be the thing that's comparable. So I think if you were to take that, for example, and recognize, I don't like where I'm at right now doing this specific task. Hey, I still got to have this job. I'm still in this task for a little bit. Let's flip it around and let's be a different person in that workplace. Let's be a different friend in that workplace. Let's be a different leader. Maybe we need to be a follower because someone else is called to be a leader in that workplace. Let's stop having money be the object and having how we feel fulfilled be in different ways now, right? And so I think that's another way of that goes back to redefining who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it, and who we are in that place as well. It's a powerful place to be. Friends, I could go on and on about this, but I want to just make sure that you know you are so loved, you are so worthy, and that the season that you're in right now is not forever. And if it's a great season, speak it out and share it. And if it's a season right now where you're like, I can't wait to just get through this, friends, we support you in that. We encourage you in that. I'm so excited for this entire season 3. We've got so many good things coming back. If you want to stay connected with us, make sure you like this podcast, share it with a friend, check out our at I Am Lifestyle. Stay connected with us. Go to iamlifestyle.org. Shop our merch, shop the book, everything like that. A little bit of plug. I'm so excited for you guys. Have an amazing week. Alrighty, that was so much fun. But before you leave, if you want to leave us a review, please leave a comment and click the like button on whatever platform you're listening to. If this episode empowered or encouraged you in any way, share it with a friend. I'll see you back here next week with another episode. Have the best week ever.